And that's the way you do it. Da 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 da. What's my good chair? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. Let people know I've gone live. And in the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And I tell you, I was deep today. And I think I was exceptionally deep today because I didn't have that momentum, that really heavy, right? That energizer bunny kind of feeling that I usually do have, and getting things done. Oh my goodness, it was like pulling teeth today, and I don't know what it is, but I suspect, right, that energy was being utilized in something important. And I'm assuming that if I felt it the way I did, that, right, lots of people felt that. But I did manage, right, just a little bit. But maybe that's just the message, right? Just the messaging of right, making sure that our cup is full, making sure that, we're not giving from an empty cup, that we're giving the overflow of a nice frothy overflowing sudsy, right, and giving that all away. But we find quite often, and especially if you're like me, where your direction, that steering wheel in our life is kind of directed through our emotions. And for me, it's a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. And so sometimes we do push ourselves saying, oh, we haven't done enough, we haven't worked hard enough, we didn't do a good enough job, we didn't contribute as much as so and so did, right? But if you do run with those kind of motions, you probably do make some movement, right? Despite how you feel. And today I managed to get the laundry done, right? Started working on my Christmas cards so that I'm able to just go bang, 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 that's done. But sometimes that's the prep work, right? So that when you're ready to send those cards, you're not in a frenzy and just, right, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. And these are the people who have contributed quite a bit most often, right? Because we care about them enough to send them a card, right? That they do contribute to that movement, and they do deserve a little bit more than ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, right? So if you get on top of that, right, then you don't fall behind. Then you can really give from your thoughts and your emotions, and maybe impact somebody's life. Because even though we're rolling into the Christmas season, and depending on what denomination you are or what country you're from, but I suspect that there is some kind of little celebration or holiday or religious day of remembrance going on sometime somewheres in the world. Because, right, that's how even Jesus Christ's birthday happened to be picked on December 25th, when all actuality, December 25th was actually a pagan holiday. But in order to not, right, have blowback in your celebrations, to have it mingle in with other cultures and other traditions, and for it to be celebrated as much, but not, right, maybe targeted or looked at because it's different, or of what it might signify, right? Lots of people, we have our own opinions. And even though we like to say we're not prejudiced, right, sometimes in our upbringing and in our programming, right? Even in my own in the 60s and 70s, right? There was a lot of negative programming that I don't even believe in. Maybe I didn't even believe in it at the time, but maybe because of the majority and because I flowed with majority, that I may have expressed it, right? Maybe in some of those cultural ideas, maybe sometimes in that idea of, right, that we all have to move the same, think the same, feel the same. And I'm a true believer that it takes all kinds to make the world, and we have to leave space for that diversity, don't we? We have to leave leave that space when we do believe that it takes all kinds to make the world, so that everybody has an opportunity by their own choices to come along for the ride, right? To feel that, if they stepped forward, that we would say, come along, right? Welcome, right? And not make anybody feel excluded because of their religious ideas or political ideas, cultural, family traditions, in those prejudices that, right, I think for the most part, we just haven't gotten those lessons yet. Very lots of these lessons that we've gotten, right? Even in women's liberation, right? We have been getting lessons that make us more tolerant in these ideas of gender labeling. We have become more open and understanding towards some of these other creative ways of living, where there was a point where we would give no consideration, right? You know, some of these ideas in our own right are prejudices when it comes to nationalities, right? Oh, hello, Nancy dear. Hello, Nancy dear. Started my Christmas cards today, right? Yours I haven't done yet because I still gotta buy the treats and everything for your Christmas package, but I'm hoping to get it out next payday, but we'll see how that goes. Happy to have you here. Oh my goodness, look at all those Santa Clauses and Christmas trees and snowflakes. But this week, so to get back, let's bring it back to the main trunk. This week we have been talking and picked our 17th word. We've been at this for 17 weeks now. That's just over 4 months. We're in our 5th month already. Wow, it doesn't seem that long. We're picking 54 words. The word that we picked this week was wonder. And I was kind of looking at a different way, a different perspective, a different angle at coming at this word wonder. And I thought I would tie it in to some of the lessons that I'm personally been getting in the past, well, I would have to say 3 or 4 months, ever since it was starting to get close for me to go on my yearly vacation that I worked and reversed engineered and created myself for myself. And we were talking about, that steering wheel of guilt and shame being the steering wheel in our lives when we're highly sensitive and being empathic. I know this isn't a trait that Nancy has, but we all have different programming, right? And this is why I say that take the lessons that you resonate with, but maybe some of these experiences, some of these adventures, some of these conversations, heartbreaks, griefs, problems, failures, right, just are not pertinent for your life in this moment. That doesn't mean that you can't carry that information, and in your own travels that you might bump into somebody who's in need of that information. But that's why I say you resonate what you resonate with. If you don't feel like it's something that feels true for you, then don't wear it. Don't make it your own. We're also eager to jump on the bandwagon and hand over our uniqueness, hand over our stubborn sometimes, right? Because I'm seeing Nancy's here with me tonight, and there's nobody more stubborn that I know anyway than Nancy. And she has been making some amazing strides and being a living example. And what is the word? A living, not just a living example, but an actual evidence to other people that it doesn't matter what life you have or what life is dishing out to you in the moment, that you can create some kind of cushioning within those hardships, those griefs, those frustrations, those failures. And that is the wonder of it all. I'm tying it to the lessons in these past few months for myself, where I'm actually being forced to take a look at myself and actually treat myself like I matter. And a lot of these lessons that are coming at me is for me to help to understand that I'm deserving. So I am putting my toes, right, into those gifts for myself. And we're not talking monetary gifts, even though those are on the plate too. I'm looking at a beautiful picture that I saw on a wall of a antique store, and I'm anxious to buy myself that picture as a gift for myself. But when I talk about deserving, sometimes it's just in those considerations like today where I just didn't have the energy. Oh my goodness. It was like, oh, I slept till after 9 o'clock this morning. I'm always up 7:30 in the morning. I'm usually up before the alarm goes off. And I woke up this morning and it was light. And I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba right now. When I wake up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's still pitch black. But it was light. And I had to take into consideration that I needed that rest. I needed that extra sleep. And why I needed it, I don't know, because I didn't feel any different when I went home or when I went to bed. But when I got up this morning at 9:30, said, "Oh my goodness, you almost slept 9 hours, 9.5 hours. You must have really needed it." And then to get up, and I got all kinds of things. I made myself a list this week of things that I needed to accomplish. I suspect I'm going to get most of it done. But like I said, it's going to probably be like pulling teeth, because I don't know how I got so zapped, but I did get zapped, but I did, because that guilt and shame is my steering wheel, right? Dragged myself out of the chair. What can you do, Cindy? Right? You can do the laundry, right? In between sitting in your chair and taking in the lessons. And even the lessons seemed extra in their absorption. Like it took a lot of effort for me to absorb them, where most of the time I could just leave myself open to the conversations and let what seep in. But I just, right? It was like screechy voices. Anything I put on, it was just like screechy voices. And I just couldn't even entertain myself today. I couldn't take in lessons today, right? I couldn't do any editing, or I couldn't. I just didn't want to, right? So I could say that makes me wonder, because it makes me wonder, because it's curious, because I am an energizer bunny, just like Nancy. Nancy's an energizer bunny too, 100%. Right? 100% Nancy. That is one of my favorite analogies from my friend Nancy, who has been hit up the side of her head for a great part of her life with these struggles. But I keep telling her too that, she must be awfully special, right? That the dark is always trying to take her out. But the thing is about Nancy, she's like a jack in the box. And this was her statement here right now. Remember, I'm the jack in the box. You can cover You can cover me with a lid, but I will always get back up out of it, lol. Right? She's just gonna pop up like a jack in a box. It doesn't matter because you can't keep her down. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with me. I'm going to show up somehow. And sometimes it's just in my commitment, just like my live show, right? Right? It's important for me to show up in my lives with that energy. But in the moment when I go to hit that button, I'm like a deflated balloon. And yet I hit that button, and in this moment, I am full of wonder at the fullness of energy that I have, right? And that kind of reminds me of sometimes, when you leave things to the last minute and then all of a sudden, right, you're running out the door, your wife is in labor, and you haven't even packed the bag, and right? And then you show up in your highest form and you get it done, but it's all in that hurry scurry, right? So when I was talking about that wonder being tied up with some of those lessons that I've gotten in the past few months, while I was working on my holiday and accomplishing what I was accomplishing, and really looking at how I was coming to the table, but not just how I was coming to the table because of my commitment to my brand, and because it is in the showing up every day that we master our crafts, right? It's in that practice, and it's in that steering wheel of guilt and shame, right? Because that's our commitment. Because again, today, oh my goodness, I don't have a TV, but I was sure in that couch in the remote control kind of mood, and I felt it out there, and I don't know what it is, but I suspect it was that energy was being focused on something, right? Or someone that truly, truly needed it, right? And hopefully it was beneficial in that. So tying up this idea of wonder to, right, these lessons that I've got into making myself feeling that I am deserving of the movement and the successes and the gifts, and belonging, and being able to be seen and being heard by people who kind of flow like I do, and be taken into equal consideration. And even though not everybody will resonate with everything that I say, right, that they will give me the equal respect, that, right, because I admire them. A lot of my movement is through the lessons that I receive by these people that I admire so much. And what just came into my mind is to say, right, not always can we chase after that admiration, because again, being highly sensitive and empath, our self-worth comes from what other people think of us, right? And I was thinking of what Elon Musk said, how hurt he was because he was working so hard and he had such big ambitions and big goals and big dreams, but they were all inspired by the people that he learned from, right? That he was looking to be seen and looking to be heard. And, right? And in the end, they couldn't even give him the time of day. And in fact, not only did they not give him the time of the day, they gave him a little bit of, right? You're not worthy. You're not equal. You have nothing to contribute. And having the guilt and the shame, and sometimes that heartbreak, right? Because these are the people that we look up to, right? These are the people that we are trying to impress. And did I put it away or do I still have it? Give me 1 second. It's an amazing quote. I'm not sure if I wrote this one or if I picked it up somewheres along the way, right? But this says, someone's willingness to invest in you is an indicator of how they believe in the value of you, right? And so when Elon Musk, right, got a little bit of feedback and probably, right, and it wasn't positive, it wasn't congratulatory, it wasn't recognition for the good work. It was probably a little bit of the opposite. It broke his heart, right? It broke his heart. It took part of that love for what he was doing. I'm going to assume, right, that hunger, that taste, that wonder of what he's doing in chasing on the heels of the people that he admired, maybe looking for a little bit of recognition, to be seen, to be heard, and to be agreed upon on some of your ideas, right? Did he deserve that? I don't know. Maybe not. But I was brought up to understand that it takes all kinds to make the world. And if I don't have something nice to say, right? Don't say anything at all. But I have to recognize, right? When I see when somebody has said something or done something to somebody, and it kind of, right, it takes the air out of the balloon. It takes that desire to, right, do a little bit more, to try a little bit harder, right? To do it a little bit bigger, right? To impress a little bit more, and sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes you go, I'll show you. I'm going to do it bigger. I'm going to do it louder. I'm going to do it more colorfully bigger, right? Right. And then you make it a competition rather than be an example of these amazing characters who you took your lessons from, to be able to express and shine on those lessons that you received, to even want to express, because, right, maybe Elon Musk is not going to be so generous where when it comes to where he's gotten his lesson and giving credit where credit is due, right? Okay, let's see what's going on here in the comments. You're not a big fan of Elon Musk, Nancy? You're not a big fan? I think I swing towards the scapegoats, being a scapegoat myself. And I understand that we each get to make our own decisions, and lots of us, we make bad decisions. I make bad decisions. And hopefully, by the grace that we can kind of recognize where we got things wrong, where we made those mistakes, maybe be able to do a little bit of retribution, a little bit of forgiving of ourselves, forgiving of others, right? Aw, right? But that's the thing. I would never ever ask anybody to keep their voice down, because, right? How am I to know? Right? It's like a poll, right? Like a, not a poll, but a poll, like when you do a survey or something. And how do we judge how the whole world feels about, well, Donald Trump, unless we're all voicing the positives and the negatives, right? Just like everybody would think he was like a wing nut, right? Who had nothing ever to contribute in positive, when I for a fact know for myself that he saved New York, that he cleaned New York up, he saved the banks, right? And sometimes we will pick at all the mistakes that somebody makes, but we don't give credit where credit is due in the positive that somebody contributes. I think everybody has a little bit of good in them. Everybody has a little bit of bad in them, but and it's not necessarily bad, right? It's just the lack of lessons, right? It's just the lack of lessons. Right? And it's funny because I have friends in the States who swing both ways, Nancy. But what I love the most about it is that it takes all kinds to make the world, and that we do live in a world where we can all have our own opinions, right? And if it was a fair world, right, then the fair people would be able to get in there and make some of those moves that I think that this world could be beneficially uh, moving towards in its evolution, right? If you just put it at that, but we can't trust that's what's coming out of every person's mouth, and that's why it's important that we resonate with what we resonate with. And as much as somebody can believe 100% in what they believe in, you're going to believe in something else. You're going to think a different way, and you have every right to think that way, right? And I'm grateful for this digital age that allows me, right, to show up here fresh like a loaf of bread and have people like my friend Nancy show up, right? And be the evidence that, right, I am deserving. I am deserving to have a point of view. I am deserving to be able to move the way I want to move, right? I am deserving because if I make sure that I have what I need, right? If I can assure myself that, that even if somebody's not going to agree with what I do or agree with what I say, that they're going to agree that I matter. They're going to agree that I am deserving to have a say in that, and everybody is deserving. Not everybody believes that they're deserving, and up until recently, I didn't believe that I was deserving. That's why I'm in these lessons right now. This is why I've been in these lessons now for months because, right, those are the lessons for me. Nancy knows she's deserving. It's why she pops up like a jack in a box every single time that something's trying to take her out, that, right, she has no problem struggling and striving, and then there's Cindy who's just waiting for those feelings of guilt and shame to show up, right? And I have to cheerlead myself, and I have to remind myself, and I have to delve into the lessons, right, that I know once I have them that they're going to serve me well, because that will be when I have that deserving down pat, right? There will be no giving up, right? No more stopping and starting. And in truth, there has been procrastination, but there has not been any stopping and starting in I would have to say years now, right? Because I've gotten those lessons, and that's the idea, is that we have to be able to want to keep going. We want to, right, be curious. We want to look at the world in that wonder, and if we feel like we're deserving, we're not going to buckle when somebody tells us that we're not deserving, right? That we don't know what we're doing, that we don't know what we're saying, right? That maybe we not only deserve not to be seen, but we don't even deserve not to be heard. And because those feelings that we feel as highly sensitives and empaths, like when our feelings get hurt, right? I'm I'm not an Elon Musk. If some of the greatest leaders out there backlashed me in what I was passionate about, what I was moving towards, would I have that courage and that bravery to hold my ground? Would I have that gumption to pop up like Nancy, like a jack in a box? Or would I allow that boot to, right, to be on my head keeping me squashed, keeping me from, right, striving to do a little bit better by myself or practicing my craft, right? And just doing it because I believe in it, even if somebody else doesn't believe in it. I am grateful that one of my mission statements is it takes all kinds to make the world, right? Because it does. It does take all kinds to make the world. And if I didn't believe that, none of us would be communicating. None of us would be listening to what anybody else says, right? Because we would only think we're the only ones, right? That deserve to be here, right? We are the ones that make the world. We are the ones. That kind of sounds narcissistic, doesn't it? We're the only ones that matter, right? And everything else is to utilize and to put our foot down and keep them down on the ground and keep them in their guilt and shame, right? So they keep staring in the direction that somebody else wants them to be in, or right, or say something that's not kind, that will actually do detrimental damage, probably, or take away from that joy and that desire and that wonder of what's next because we don't feel appreciated that what we're going to delve into next is even going to be appreciated because what we just finished with wasn't appreciated, right? I run with the curiosity. It's curiosity. hasn't killed hasn't killed this cat, but I think it's a little bit more than the curiosity, right? It's that idea of if I don't give up, if I just keep taking in those lessons, right? If I just keep moving with those lessons, the next lesson will come to me. And even though somewhere's down in the future somebody might say, dummy, you don't know what you're talking about, you're Looney Tunes, whatever, I'm not looking at that right now because I'm looking at this lesson that I have that's deserving, right? It deserves my attention. I deserve my attention, and it's wondrous. It truly is wondrous how these lessons get to me in the most opportune times. It really does. I was blown away today because as the questions were coming to my mind, the lessons were being directed to me through the conversations I was having on the hallway, or something I was catching in a moment online, or something I was working on, even if it was just in this word. Oh my goodness. You know, deserving is not something that I ever felt was part of my life. You know, when it come to this word that I took, what I needed or what I wanted or desired, I didn't look at it as part of I deserved this. I looked at it in the way that despite what anybody says, despite what anybody thinks, despite what anybody does to me, right? I'm going to do this because I do desire this, even if, right, I don't think I'm deserving. And this is why specifically I'm in these lessons because, right, they're important lessons to have, especially as a thought leader, because if I didn't think that I was deserving of that position, even in the moment, right, that guilt and shame dictates the direction that I'm going in. I'm taking the lessons as they're coming to me, right? And I'm recognizing when they are lessons. And when I'm finishing those lessons, right, an experience comes in that makes me more solidified in my beliefs, and that's the evidence. And that evidence is wondrous in itself because it's evidence. I see that it works. I feel that it works, and it gives me that, what's that idea? That one step closer to what I envision, whether it's for myself, whether it's for my family, whether it's for the world itself. It makes it so that, right, it could be a possibility. And that, saying that, right, could be, is only letting me know that I need more lessons in that deserving, because that word should not be could be. It even shouldn't even be should be. It will be. It will be, right? Just keep taking the lessons, right? And if you get shot down in those lessons, you pop up like a jack in a box, like our girl Nancy, right? Okay, let's catch these last little bit of comments here, and yeah, we'll call it a night. Cindy, keep the hands and bod away from the camera, lol. You keep me making it buffer, lol. It's not liking your sudden movements, lol. Oh, yeah, I'm watching it myself. It seems okay on both my monitors. But maybe when I touch the phone, or is this what you're talking about, Nancy? When I'm touching the laptop, that it's kind of jiggling. I'm not following. Attention, attention. Keep all hands and feet and bods in the chair and back away from the computer at all times while this live is in action. Thanks and enjoy the stream. You're a funny girl. You're a funny girl, Nancy. Okay, everybody. That's my good cheer for tonight. I am going back to my lesson, see if I can better absorb them now, right? Maybe have something to eat. One more day off, right? And I will be ready to ground in that job that puts the roof over my head, right? It's that little bit of balance in that teetering. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you.